Good morning. This is the morning meeting. You're looking live, not at Lambeau Field, but rather at the cable news networks. We're going to see how everybody frames their lead story, which presumably will be here when they get to 9 a.m. on this feed, which is a little delayed because that's the way things are. Latency is my life. We're going to get to see how they are framing the Gaza story, which will be a big topic for us today. Dan, Sean, and I will run you through the news, let you know what's happening in the coming day, talk about it a little bit, and then, as always, we'll want to hear what you have to say. Emphasizing the importance of peace, love, and understanding, please raise your hand if you're here on the two-way platform. We'd love to have you participate. We've had some great first-time people this week. Let's keep that going. And then if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, X as it's sometimes called, please, the presumption of grace as you enter your comments in there. We've had some lovely comments this week. We've also had a little bit of a return to the trash, so please cut that out. This meeting is based on the network news morning meetings, where they run through the day, and that's what we'll do now. Let's just take a look. Guys, what do you good morning. What do you think of shocking plan, says CNN?
I
Mika's
mean,
covering it straight.
I think it was the first time last night that I saw the MAGA world splinter online.
Well, look at Fox not leading with Gaza. Fox is leading with Doge disruption. Doge disruption.
That tells you everything you need.
Making
By the way,
waves.
Mark, do you know why Brent Musburger would open with "You are looking live"?
Because they were flaunting that they had the technology.
No, because he was such a gambler. He was letting gamblers know last second, this is the weather at what you are looking at. I've heard him talk about it in interviews. That's why he would always be clear that was not a tape. You are looking live. It's, snowing in Chicago for the Bears game. Put your money down.
Thing. All right, CNN's stunning proposal. I just want to see how Fox frames this. They're still on Doge. Interesting. All right, you can take that down. All right, what's going on today? President Trump has a big schedule, no surprise. He's got a bunch of people coming to kiss the ring and have substantive meetings over the next few weeks. Today, the governor of Texas at 2:30. So we're not sure what he's doing until 2:30, but at the president, 2:30, governor of Texas, 3 o'clock, signs executive orders, no men and women's sports executive order in the East Room, not in the Oval. We'll see if he turns that into another press conference. 4 o'clock, he meets with a guy, the White House official schedule identifies as the governor of
California. The reason it's in the East Room is guests. You know that he's going to be Riley Gaines. There's going to be a ton of folks, my guess is.
Yes, sir. Good point. Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, he meets with at 4. And at 1 o'clock, the White House press secretary briefs. I'm sure Sean noticed this. Yesterday in the press conference with Bibi, the president sort of going around acknowledging various officials, and he got to Caroline Leavitt, and he was like, well, she's doing the best of anybody in the administration. He clearly, as we predicted here, or suggested here, he clearly is loving the briefings. Sean.
Yeah, just in contrast, when he was asked a similar question to grade his team, I think around the same time, he said, I don't know, like a C+. So
you mean in 17?
Definitely getting a lot better of a grade.
Yeah, I mean, MAGA loves her online. We've said what's true, which is, again, whether you agree with her or not, she's objectively off to a very fast and confident start. And again, she's being the exact press secretary he wanted. Bibi is still in D.C. He's meeting today with the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Advisor. We'll see what comes of that, whether there's obviously more conversation about something we'll get to in a minute. 11:30 a.m., opponents of the president, including some members of Congress, are holding a rally in D.C. called Rally to Restore Foreign Aid Now. We will see how successful that is. Don't know what the vice president's doing today. I need a new system for tracking the vice president's schedule. I will get on that very soon. Capitol Hill, the House. Again, this happens every Wednesday. The Republicans meet and the Democrats meet separately in closed meetings. Then at 10 o'clock, Speaker Johnson and the major leadership, majority leadership, has a press conference at 10. Then some of the Democratic leaders, Pete Aguilar and Ted Lieu, hold a press conference at 11. The Senate is working on various nominations after yesterday's successful committee votes for the nominees for Gabbard and Kennedy. And it's just a matter of time. The Democrats are so upset with Donald Trump and everything that's going on, they're going to drag everything out, and it's going to be up to John Thune to see if he can get them to agree to not drag everything out, or this will take a little bit longer than it might. All right. So on Gaza, lots of worldwide reaction. I just read a super interesting article about an issue that I haven't seen much of any place else, which is that this is all not all about, but a lot of this is about energy. One thing I'll say is President Trump mentioned this, but it's underappreciated, is it's not practical for people to go back and live in Gaza anytime soon. It does need to be rebuilt. Someone's going to have to do it, and he's proposing that the U.S. do it. Guys, let's look at one thing, and then I just wanted you to talk as long as you want about it and talk to each other, and then we'll bring folks in. Let's play, please, the clip. This gives you just some sense of how the international media covered the events of yesterday. Roll the videotape.
अमेरिकी सदर ट्रंप का गजा की पट्टी पर तवील अरसे तक कब्जा करने का ऐलान। व्हाइट हाउस में इसराइली वज़ीर आज़म के साथ प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में कहा कि मैं गजा में तवील उल मुद्दती मिल्कियत की पोजीशन देखता हूं।
It's insane. It's ethnic cleansing. And he said all of
well,
this.
It's not. I mean, it's insanity. I might go. I mean, they are going to supposedly they're going to be moved to beautiful housing areas. I don't know if that's quite ethnic cleansing.
The US President Donald Trump is saying he wants the US to take over the Gaza Strip. How is that being covered by the papers? Let's start with the Middle East.
Well, I'll start with Al Akbar Eve, which is a Lebanese paper with close ties to Hezbollah. After announcing his intention to clean out Gaza a few days ago, the US president is persisting, opening a new chapter in the war. Al Had, which is a Jordanian daily, describes Donald Trump's statements as a total surprise, especially when he says that he's considering transforming Gaza into a Middle Eastern Riviera.
Gaza back into that sort of environment, Liz, is a big ask.
This is just insane. Yesterday, this was a conspiracy theory, okay? The idea that this was someone's end goal for this. And here we are with Trump standing next to Netanyahu saying, no, this is what we're going to do.
Just saw BB's on Hannity tonight, exclusive interview. Sean, Liz of Australian TV, who speaks like she's from Brooklyn for reasons I don't understand. Liz says, this is insane. What say you, Sean Spicer, international man of mystery?
Her pronunciation of idea as idea
sounds like Brooklyn.
No, that's a Rhode Island. That's definitely pushing Rhode Island for you. Look, I didn't have it. I couldn't find the appropriate coin, but this is the equivalent of he just changed the entire dialogue by saying, look over here, folks. No one's talking about USAID. No one's talking about reconciliation. No one's talking about firings. We're all now, everybody last night was in a tizzy. Oh my God, the new shiny, look over here, folks. It was amazing. He is the master at this. And I will say this, when it comes to real estate or land deals, I would never underestimate how serious he is. I don't think that this is a joke. I don't think this is some one-off. I actually think in a perfect world, he would love to see these things happen. It's one thing to talk about, the Panama Canal, but the idea of taking over, whether it's Greenland or Gaza, are not some crazy ideas with him. Second, I would just say what we've been doing for 50 years hasn't exactly been working out. So you know what? Maybe Washington needs a little something new. And the last thing I'll say on this subject, because I do want to touch on USAID in a bit, is I heard a lot of people, even some, as Dan pointed out, on the MAGA front, talking about how this wasn't consistent with America First. Of course it is. It's 100% consistent. There's a difference between getting involved in foreign wars that are somebody else's problem, someone else's land, and saying we want to buy that. That becomes America. If we take over Gaza or Greenland or Panama or Canada, not that I'm advocating for that, just to be clear, especially Canada. It becomes ours. It's one thing to bail them out or to pay for them or to fight their war. It's another thing to own them. Then it is part of us. So it's consistent with America First.
Yeah. Dan, let me just say two things real quick and then kick it over to you. First of all, just to amplify what you said about Trump being the master. It's common for a politician to try to change the subject, right? Bring up something else. The two things that Trump does, because his fingertip feel for the media and public opinion and everything else is so developed. One is he knows he can calibrate. Like, how big does it have to be to change the subject? Like, exactly, not too much, not too little. And then execution, right? He knew full well what he was doing when he did it, which doesn't mean, as you said, John, that it's not a real proposal. The other thing I'll say is, you said this is if it's not working for America, it's not working for the people of Gaza. 50 years of status quo, and it's not working for Israel, particularly after the tragic attack on Israel last year. So, or October 7th. So I don't know that this will happen. I think they're going to have to get the Saudis on board. Obviously, there's lots of issues here, but people who think it's a stupid idea because it's new don't understand the ethos of what's going on.
Dan,
Yeah,
please,
sure. Go ahead.
I apologize because I'm getting the age where if I don't say it, I'll forget it. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but just two things. Mark said the word when. The when is a critical component of this for two reasons. Long-term wise, Al-Sisi and I'm trying to think of whether it's Jordan, I think are all coming next week. So the when, number one, he planted this right before some major visits. The second, the short-term when, he had to sit down on a bilat with Netanyahu, with press in the Oval, and nothing was said. Then they paused the presser for 45 minutes. And clearly Netanyahu was read into this because of, so Trump, I mean, to Mark's point, the when was calculated. This isn't something that you just said on the colonnade, on the walkover. Hey, can I pull you aside in the medical office there? Because I got something I want to run by you. They held this back intentionally. And then he sprung it because the audience was bigger, the effect would be bigger, and he could pop it there. And Netanyahu was clearly read it, and you could tell by the expression on his face and the pronunciations of especially people on the right in Israel. They were, so I just, the word when was key to this. I apologize for jumping in.
That's
Dan,
okay.
All yours.
Well, for everyone on here who constantly says we all agree too much, I totally disagree with both of you guys. I mean, usually I'll go in order here. Usually when Trump tosses out the shiny red ball, I totally agree. He's the master at it. He tosses out a ball that the base loves. The base completely fractured on this. It wasn't just online. You had Senator Lindsey Graham, saying, I don't think people want their children in South Carolina going anywhere near Gaza. You had Josh Hawley come out and say, I don't want U.S. tax dollars would be better spent in America first. That it was almost a quote. It's not that it hasn't worked, guys, for 50 years there. Nobody's been able to make it work for 2,000 years there. And I mean, so just if you even say don't take them literally, this is kind of part of a bigger play, energy, whatever. Who pays for it? Who builds it?
The Saudis.
Okay.
I'll answer your questions.
No,
Saudis,
okay. But
Jared.
Oh, wait,
Jared,
hold on. The
Keep
Saudis
going.
said absolutely not. We're not cool
so
with this
far,
whatsoever.
the bazaar is open. Let them come visit.
I hear you. So maybe private equity goes in there. Who's going to defend it? Saudi Arabia doesn't
the
have
Dutch. Wait,
hold on a sec, Mark. All the Europeans that we're kicking the shit out of and we're taking Greenland, they're all going to come because we asked them to defend the Middle East.
The Dutch and the
Right.
the Dutch and the Saudis. I'm answering all your questions.
Yeah, no, but I'll make you guys a gentleman.
The Dutch and the
bet that
Saudis.
not a single other European country will put their troops in Gaza for the next 10 years.
Once the war in Ukraine's over, what are all our NATO troops going to do? They're going to be patrolling the Trump Hotel in Gaza.
Okay, all right, I like it. And then I think the last thing is just it reminded me of the Godfather adage, right? If you watch the Godfather in the trilogy, in the opening scene, when the mother is pleading with the local Don to not kill her son, and the Don says, "I'm sorry," because when he grows up to be a man, he will seek revenge. And that region has been a tinderbox. The idea that we're going to go in and, okay, we displaced them, they should be somewhere else, nice homes, that they're going to say, you're right, it's time that I just let go of my homeland.
Okay, here's the thing. The
Mark, it goes
two-state
against
solution.
everything
Of
Trump
course
ran.
it does. So it does. But here's two things. If Trump and Bibi are in power, there's no two-state solution. There just isn't. They're just not
I
going to
agree
happen.
with you.
And two, again, there's no Gaza to go back to. What if you think, okay, put Trump's solution out the window? Someone is going to have to build infrastructure, school, hospitals, water, housing. It's going to have to be done. There's no going back. So
Why?
if you say,
but why are we doing it, Mark?
Because Trump sees an opportunity on energy and on Israeli security to do it, and no other country will do it and can do it.
Is Donald Trump going to make the argument? Okay, we're not talking about the economy. We're not talking about lowering inflation. If Donald Trump is going to spend the next 4 years talking about what is best for Israeli security, if you think that is a winning message, if you think with MAGA. And I'm watching the chat. I'm watching X. The guy
With MAGA?
he pulverized the Democratic Party, talking about what was best for Europe and Ukraine.
Yeah, of course, if we get a cut of the energy revenue of selling energy to Europe out of this region, if no American dies, and if there's not a war because there's Abraham Accords too.
But who's spending money to build all of this?
The Sovereign Wealth Fund and all of Donald Trump's rich developer friends, and Jared, who would love to build the Riviera of the Middle East.
And the Iranians and the Russians and everyone who foments opposition is cool with this.
They're not cool with it, but good luck, Iran. Good luck in your senior year, Iran. They're weaker than they've ever been.
Mark, hold on.
They're weaker than they've ever been. The Russians will freak out.
Okay,
but
they're weaker than they ever are. Do you think in their own neighborhood, they're just going to be like, yeah, you're right, guys, go have. The Iranians will keep. I mean, this is where I just think you're making it sound like it's a real estate transaction in Florida.
Yeah, you want to give up and consign the Palestinians to living in tents over sewage. And Donald Trump wants to try something different.
Mark, it's not that I want it. No, I know what you're saying, but I just think, again, to me, it is the ultimate irony that here we are talking about USAID and how Iraq is a waste and all of this stuff. For 9 years, Democrats have gone totally on a back foot politically because he has pulverized us that basically any dollar overseas is a dollar that should have been spent in America.
But if we own it, it is America.
Yeah, and now we're talking about, let's go do the Middle East after Iraq.
MAGA will follow their general. They might be venting on X today. They will follow their general if he's got a good plan in place. All right.
Let me ask you this then. Would one U.S. troop go to defend this infrastructure?
No, Dutch and Saudi. There'll be some American leadership of the Dutch and the Saudis, but no, there won't be like
there'll be advisors
U.S. Army
like in Vietnam.
Yeah. But Dan, it's not going to be like Vietnam because there's going to be a deal with the Saudis. All right, there's lots of hands up, and I assume people want to ask about this. So let's speed through our 3 other topics and then open it up because I want to get folks in. So Trump and Musk. This two-way could be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week channel where all we do is talk about the remaking, reimagining, and limiting of the federal government. Wall Street Journal says they're now offering buyouts at the CIA after the initial round exempted people in national security. The USAID fight continues. Trump reaffirmed yesterday that he told his Secretary of Education nominee, you're going to put yourself out of work. Like there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of criticism of it. And obviously, it's still centering around Musk. So for the third straight day yesterday, Donald Trump said on paper favorable things about Musk, but also said he does not have carte blanche. And I don't know if that's to send a signal to Musk or to get the media off the trail, whatever. Dan, just what's your 30,000-foot summary of where we are in reinventing government Musk style?
There can only be one star in the Trump movie. You just always have to remember that. And that is Donald Trump. And I think as long as Trump feels like Musk is producing, a good narrative, he's okay. The moment there's problems, I think he's going to start saying either you're over your skis or you've extended your stay.
And how about on the substance of what they're doing in terms of public opinion, in terms of making America great again? How's that going?
I think for USAID, I think they'll win that. I think I've said this before in the last month. Democrats cannot defend the status quo. If I were the Democratic Party, I would do 3 things here. I would try to take the strength and make it a weakness, which is not that they're proposing change. They're going so fast and they're so indiscriminate that they are putting stuff at risk. I would highlight the where some of these agencies do good stuff, and I would embrace this to say that basically we are for kind of smart reform, they're for reckless grievances. If you blow out the CIA leadership, like they're working on terrorist case, they're working on trying to keep us safe, right? That is risky to just blow out everybody. The third thing is, I would start trying to find, if I were Democrats, wasteful spending and stuff like the Department of Defense and Commerce. I would draw Republicans into this. Make them defend the fact that that a ship is repaired for $10 billion versus a new one built for $3 billion. Why is that? You got a bunch of Southern senators that want to defend the jobs in their district. So I would start putting mud all over the walls that like, we'll play this game too, right? Now, Elon, go hunt in the Defense Department. Let's get the headlines and make, you know, Lindsey Graham squirm and Ted Cruz squirm. And then, yeah, the last
Sean,
thing I would do, anyway,
yeah.
sorry.
Well, that's all right. I just want to speed through these if we can, because
sorry.
I want to get folks in on the Middle East. Sean, where are we on Trump and Musk, and where are we on reinventing government?
So first of all, a couple things. One, I'd love to squirm, Dan. I mean, hey, you want us to come hunting at the Defense Department and at Commerce? Well, I think you'll get more Republicans on that team than anything else. One thing occurred to me overnight that I thought was interesting. There was this philosophy, like, and many have extolled it like Dan did, which is, you know, go in surgically, whatever, and as opposed to whole. And I started to think about this. For Republicans and conservatives that have thought that government is too big, too bloated, too ineffective, you pull it out by the root, right? Taking out USAID by the root, taking out the DOE by the root, so it can't grow back. If you just leave part of it there, it'll grow back. Welcome to Washington. It knows how to reconstitute itself like the Terminator. So what they're doing is they're literally pulling all of these weeds out by the root. And I think it's actually a lot smarter than we're giving it credit for. On Elon himself, I mean, the thing that's interesting on this, where the president, I think, is actually really smart on this is Elon's not just getting the credit, he's also taking all the hits. So it's, you know, to Dan's point, he might be partially the star, but he's also taking all the arrows too. All those guys standing outside the building at USAID, Chris Van Hollen and Ilhan Omar, are yelling about Elon Musk, not Donald Trump. So as far as Trump's concerned, it's like, yeah, you go take the hits. You go be the bad guy. He actually, to some degree, has set the guy up. I actually think it's smart. Now, here's where I think this is. I'll finish with this, Mark. The first quote I want to read you is, man, Trump will be well satisfied to have this fight. When you talk about, that was by the esteemed philosopher David Axelrod. Then the other one is, when you talk about cuts, the first thing people say is, cut foreign aid, said Rahm Emanuel. You don't fight every fight. You don't swing at every pitch. This is exactly the point. They went hunting in a smart place first. So I actually think they're going about this well. The base is behind them. The movement is behind them. And as you mentioned,
Democrats cannot just sit there and say, you know, you can't do this, like kind of from a process standpoint, and all is well. Like, it's suicide for us to keep defending everything always.
Right. So just real quick, King Abdullah of Jordan has also added his voice this morning just now to rejecting the notion of taking Palestinians in and this plan. So we'll see.
Well, remember that there's different things about building where they resettle them is I think the big issue there, at least from what I can tell.
Maybe,
so if you
maybe Poland. The Poles like to take folks in.
Or Greenland.
Yeah, or Greenland.
Greenland.
So let's talk about the Democrats. We talked with Tim last night on Two-Way Tonight about how there's this consensus of you can't swing at every pitch. And then, Sean, you quoted from the Politico piece of Axelrod and Rahm saying this one is not a pitch we should swing at because we shouldn't be defending foreign aid. I think we found the most effective way that Democrats are in fact fighting back to make the case against Trump and Musk clear. I think we'll all agree this is brilliant. 101, please. $101, please. So brilliant.
I'd like to see Sean just keep dancing.
Yeah. Do we have 101?
Mark.
Okay.
I got it.
All right. Here we go.
They're too focused on Shake Shack for In and Out.
Don't.
They're focused on something else. I asked them to find something else. It's my fault. Guys, we have it soon, or should we move on?
Let's move on. Sorry about that.
All right. Let us know when it's ready. So this rule of don't swing at every pitch, I think there's agreement in the party. The problem is, Dan, how did Democrats decide as Nolan Ryan, throws 101 mile an hour fastball at them? How did they decide in a split second what to swing at and what not? What are the rules about what to swing at?
Well, I think you have to have your priorities. Like, you know where he's starting to go now, or if he's not there yet, he's going to be there soon. Like, I think you have to take an inventory scan. everybody knows that foreign aid is not popular to defend. Go back to our Gaza conversation. America first.
So what? Okay. So what?
Right.
Either what's the rule about what to swing at, not what not to swing at. What's the
Right.
rule, or what's an example of something you think they should now be swinging at? Since they've been spending a lot of
Sure.
time swinging at USAID, there's a consensus in some parts of the party. Don't swing at that. So what's a rule that determines, or what's a specific?
I would center everything around, is it making people's life safer, more secure, or more prosperous? I mean, it's a Trump line. So this blowing out the entire CIA leadership puts you at risk. That is a grievance, not a smart way to run our national security agency. If it is, I would center back on the economic message, right? Which is where on the tariffs, look, it kind of folded apart, but like Trump is doing all this stuff. Why aren't they doing things to make your, bring costs down and stuff like that? I mean, I think
Right.
real
lives of real people.
Right. When it's about DEI, when it's about foreign aid, like I would just kind of let that go.
Yeah.
But
Sean?
sorry.
Yep, sorry. That's okay. I apologize. Sean, go ahead.
I think look, I don't agree with the CIA one. Troubles me because I think you have human intelligence sources that have cultivated, it could be in a place like China or Iran or Russia that who might hey, I'll take the deal, and suddenly we lose years of human intelligence, which is critical. There's only so much you can get through signal intelligence, et cetera. So I think that one, but I will tell you, to Dan's point, philosophically, I think there's a lot of sympathy for that, but I don't know that people are going to go to the mattresses for the CIA.
Yeah.
But it's not the mattresses. You get your national security people who speak on national security. You get your people who are really strong on education. Like they're going to highlight the bad. You got to pull in the good. So
right. I think you just need to find a better example right now where people are going to go, oh, wow, that's too far. Selling. I mean, again,
but that's where you have to inventory. You know the attacks are coming. You know that like education, EPA, you know exactly where they're going to go. So you should line up everybody so that you have your version of Caroline Leavitt. Okay. The $500 million grant to the University of Texas. What say you, Ted Cruz?
Yeah. All right. All right. We got one more topic to do, but again, I think we have found the perfect example of how Democrats should be approaching this. 101, please.
We will win. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Gretchen.
Yes,
So,
they need the Democrats need a real.
So Dan, if they can just bottle that, that's the answer, right? Yes. Okay. Last topic, real quick, because the reason I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, besides the fact that I want to get our community in here, is there is no answer to this question, really. But Republicans now are dealing with the reality of trying to figure out one beautiful bill, two beautiful bills. Right now, the ball's in the House court. They're having a huge amount of time agreeing on the instruction legislation to lead to reconciliation, how much they should be demanding in cuts. Sean, today, how do you think this ends? One beautiful bill, two beautiful bill. The Senate goes first. Where do you think we're headed?
Two bills, Senate wins.
Senate goes first.
Yep.
So Senate
well,
goes.
There's some logistic. So the way it works, I mean, legally and technically, the bill has to start in the House. So the Senate will pass the House. Well, it'll go back to. I mean, so just to be clear, but the Senate will lead this effort.
And Trump and Johnson will sign off on a bill that goes with defense, border,
and energy.
But
just to be clear, let's just put that in the right order. The Senate will go to Mar-a-Lago on Friday. They will sell Trump. Trump will get on board, and Johnson will have to buy in.
Dan, do you agree with that?
Oh, I just love the fact that it's a mess. I mean, I think Democrats are wise. They're going to have to come to us. And I think they are sitting back in the House. This is where they're going to have to be smart, because just as they can't fight everything, they can't ask for everything. So it's like they're going to have to prioritize. Look, you cannot get that House Freedom Caucus to agree to this stuff. I mean, that is so. The only solution is if Trump.
But no Democrat's going to vote for any Trump thing anytime soon.
But you don't need it. It's reconciliation.
Well, no, but Dan said go to the Democrats.
If you lose 5 House members, you do.
Oh, right. But that's not going to happen. The only way you need Dems is the Senate. I mean, my point is, look, right now.
I'm not talking about reconciliation. I'm saying if they try to do like immigration Like,
sorry. I thought we were talking about like Bill 2 and everything. On the first, I think to Sean's point, they'll split it two bills.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jason Smith and Ways and Means.
All right, we'll be talking more about this.
But by the way, this goes back to for people who bemoan Washington once in a while. This is the difference between John Thune and years in teamwork and Mike Johnson, still relatively new. And to Dan's point, the House not being on the same page, because Thune basically got all of his guys on one page, said, we can do this in two. We're ready to go. They're having dinner on Friday with Trump, and they're going to walk in, put it on a plate and say, we can do this tomorrow. Just say yes. And we go. And the House is like, we're still trying to find the bill, and we've got some papers jammed in the copier. And
Sean Spicer has lurched uncontrollably into the truth. Issue 2. Lauren, welcome in. Thank you for joining. You're unmuted. Tell folks where you are. What's on your mind, please?
Hi.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm in DC. As soon as the press conference ended last night, I was like, oh, I must go on two-way tomorrow morning. I just completely disagree with like everything you said, Dan, regarding Israel. Like, I don't see this as contrary to what Trump ran on at all. I mean, he ran on a lot of things, and one of them was world peace, right? Like peace in the Middle East. No, I mean, this is a big part of what he ran on. Like when I was in office, there weren't these conflicts. And, like talking about USAID too. I mean, Trump doesn't want to just like completely eliminate USAID forever. I mean, Marco Rubio said, like, we need to pause this so we can make sure that the aid aligns with our American, America First interests. Part of that, of course, being influence over the areas of the world where we need influence. And so it's the same thing, like peace in the Middle East is in line with American interests. And like, this is nothing like Iraq either. I mean, tiny compared to Iraq. B, the US wouldn't be going in if this is in the middle of the war. I mean, we're not going in there to start a war. And then, of course, the funding completely different. And another thing is just we saw when Biden came into power, when the US is exerting less control in the Middle East, is showing itself to be weaker toward Iran, and is not as outwardly aligned with Israel, countries like the Saudis, like UAE, like Qatar, they move themselves closer to Iran. They need a strong American influence there. And so I'm just so sick of everyone, like all the traditional conservatives, the never Trumpers, a lot of the Democrats just, this is just a crazy idea. I mean, maybe it's a bad idea. Who knows? Anyone who's saying that, what's the alternative? Like Mark was saying, are you going to leave these people in rubble? Like, how are these people supposed to live there? How are they going to de-radicalize while they're there? I mean, it's not going to happen.
Lauren, brilliant. Well said. Dan.
It's very well said. And I really appreciate you coming on, and you're super passionate and you speak for a lot of people. Frankly, you sound like a Democrat or the establishment Republicans the last 9 years, who would make the exact same arguments for why we should be engaged, why we should be in there. You can say Biden was a wimp, and I would agree with you, and he was just a horrible leader on Middle East foreign policy. We have no disagreement about that. I think Hillary Clinton and others would say the same thing. Totally. But I think where people, like everything you said, you're right, we're not starting a war. There is a war. There is rubble. It does need to be rebuilt. My point was not Dan Turrentine and the Democratic Party is saying, it's that Donald Trump for 9 years had said, this is the stuff we're not getting involved in anymore.
You're defining it wrong, Dan.
That stuff.
It's not that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, what? Okay. Well, I mean,
nuanced, right? This is not like.
There's a difference between going to Ukraine and blowing a ton of money and saying, hey, we'll take it over if we can reap the benefits. When we went to Iraq, initially we talked about having oil reserves and we blew it. So saying that, hey, we'll go rebuild, but we're going to rebuild it in a way that we reap some of the benefit actually is very America first.
But Sean, that yes, but what everyone, again, I'm watching the reaction online. I'm watching the reaction of other Republicans who are saying, if we can do this without spending a single dollar or sending a single U.S. Soldier or advisor over there, right? So in other words, if he can be the general contractor for other countries to do this, then great. I totally agree with you, Lauren, that is in Israel and the region's best interest if this can be rebuilt.
In our interest.
Right. Which a safe and secure Middle East is in the world's interest, right? Everyone's interest. I live on the Upper West Side of New York City. I hear this all the time, right? Very passionate. The question is, do we get dragged into this with blood or treasure? And that is where, again, I think a lot of Democrats would support you. The people who have opposed this have been the people who have said, America first, and they are popping off online saying, bad idea, no.
So then where's the Democrat support? I mean, they're losing.
But also, we're not getting into a war here. Lauren's absolutely right. It's one thing to get into the war. We're going to cost things. It's another thing to say, let's go in. And instead of just sending a pile of cash to rebuild, let's get some skin in the game so we actually get something out of it. It's a completely different model.
How is that a different model?
Because normally we just are a piggy bank and here you go and don't pay it back. Now we're saying, hey, we might actually get something in return.
The goal should be season 5 of the White.
Goes to terrorists.
Season 5 of the White Lotus should be shot at Trump Gaza. That's
are we
the
actually
way.
you think season 5? We're at 3, right?
Yeah, but it's going to take a while to build.
I know. I just wanted to make sure you were thinking 2 seasons ahead.
Yeah.
Can I couple quick points? One, Lauren, I love the fact that was your instinct last night. I got to come in and the idea that we have created a platform and a venue where people think I want to go express is so awesome. And I appreciate you saying that at the outset. Second, I think the other point that you made, look, say what you will, for 4 years, we're at peace. You may not always appreciate Donald Trump's tactics, but the bottom line is he kept us safe for 4 years. Joe Biden, who could apparently, what was the line? I know more foreign leaders than you will ever know in your lifetime. Didn't do too good of a job keeping the world safe. So I will take the Trump model. And the third thing is, look, as I kind of said at the beginning, and Dan's right, maybe it's been more than like 2,000 years. We've been getting excuses and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe it's time we started thinking a little differently in Washington, D.C. and had a different model and actually had some accountability. So if it means doing something a little different, I'm all for it.
Lauren, fantastic participation. We hope it doesn't take a world international. Can
I ask 2 questions?
Yeah.
Real quick, Lauren, are you the Republican that lives in Washington, D.C., or were just background wise? And then second, do you or are you affiliated with the federal government if you feel comfortable sharing that?
I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. I voted for Trump, which was wild to me. And I'm not affiliated with the federal government, but I'm graduating law school and I wish I were. Yeah.
Lauren, thank you. Come back.
And Dan, I really like you, to be clear. Like, I really like you.
Lauren, when we go to dinner on Friday nights, this is the conversation that's happening with a lot of our friends up here.
Lauren, come back regularly, even when Donald Trump doesn't make historic proposals. Enjoy it. Very grateful to you. All right, Monique, welcome in. Thank you for joining. Tell folks who don't know where you are and then what's on your mind, please. And thank you for coming with that extraordinarily awesome mug.
I wanted to make sure I got on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you
okay,
fine.
I knew this would do it. My dogs are very bad dogs.
Okay. Is that the Fonz?
Yeah,
it is.
Oh yeah.
He's admitting he was. Where are you, Monique? Where do you live?
I'm in Tucson, Arizona, right outside of Tucson.
Okay, well, welcome in.
Thank you. One of the things I've been trying to get on to tell you guys is that this forum has been great. And it gets me a little bit weepy-eyed sometimes when I think back back in the early 90s, when we would get together and get in the rush rooms. If anybody remembers going to have lunch in the bars and have a sandwich and talk about conservative ideas and meeting up with people who thought like us, that was a great thing.
I remember that.
And so what I wanted to talk about was Miss Tulsi Gabbard next week. She passed through the committee. We were very pleased to hear about that. But my question, I heard that the grilling, when they talk to her, it will be out in the open, but the vote could be secret. And I don't understand how they can, I'm trying to understand how that rule came to be, that they can vote on that secretly. And we won't know who it was.
Yeah, yeah. Great question. Although we do know how everybody voted, but Sean, explain why the Intelligence Committee allows
the
that.
intelligence. So just to be clear, a couple things. When Tulsi had her hearing, Congresswoman Gabbard, it was half in public and half not, right? So they go into closed session, into a skiff, and discuss certain things that can't be discussed in public. By tradition, for a lot of obvious reasons, because the way the committee operates, they're not generally a partisan committee because a lot of the way that things happen, they vote in private because most of their business, frankly, is in private. They just tend to hold, for this particular position, half of it in public.
But
So
Sean, let me stop you though, because I never really focused on this. I understand why the deliberations might have to be in private because they're talking about classified stuff, but why can't the vote be public?
Yes.
So again, I'm explaining, I'm not justifying.
No,
but
what?
Oh, right.
We're
I'm
not
going
going to
to
hold you. We're not going to hold you to it. But I don't even understand.
Right, no,
Maybe
because
you're
I'm not
worried about
necessarily
blackmail or countries knowing who objects to
right,
people.
exactly.
And, I mean,
and also part of it is if Bob votes against her, then I want to go and say, Bob, what was it that made you vote against her? What did you see? What do you know? And to Dan's point, there's a lot of underlying things from an intel perspective that people would argue shouldn't allow. If I know where the weaknesses or the vulnerabilities are in somebody, or that one particular senator had an issue, it may cause me to look a little further into things that. So that to me is my understanding of the justification. Whether you buy that or not, I don't know. But when she goes to the floor, that is also a public vote and a public discussion.
Yeah, although I don't know why that would be different. Anyway, great question. Thank you, Monique. Thanks for coming. Come back regularly. I like Tucson. It's a nice place. All right. I'll be making a joke that only a handful of you will get, but nonetheless, I'll still do it. Mikey Hartman, welcome in.
How you doing?
Thank you.
It's been a while, guys.
Yes, sir. Welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind, please.
I'm in Florida, and as some of you guys may know, I spent most of my life in Israel in the military. And when I was listening to Trump yesterday,
hold on, Mikey, because some people won't know. Tell folks what you did in Israel.
I served in the IDF for 22 years. I retired lieutenant colonel. I was the head sharpshooter of Israel for 2 decades. I built the shooting school of Israel and trained about 500,000 soldiers to shoot. It's my one true gift. I don't have many, but that's one of them.
So you're a man of standing, and I'm sure you got a point of view. So we'd love to hear what your thoughts on this are.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I wasn't expecting it. I think someone said it wasn't on my bingo card. I wasn't expecting Trump to say that. Now listen, I served in Gaza for a very long time. I've seen it from every angle, from underneath, from over, from inside. It is a bad, bad place. There is no good there right now. Now, if you go into depth with what Trump said, I know everyone's against him. There's people that are just against him for anything he'll say. And then there's the people that don't like Israel. Then there's the people that don't like Jews. And then you put them all together, they make a lot of noise on TikTok. And I guess you can see those comments. But he's not saying, they're using the word transfer. We're trying to transfer them out. No one wants to transfer anybody out. We want them to volunteer to go. Now, if you can give someone a better life, Gaza is filled with death. It's death all around. This is not a way to live. Until 1967, Egypt had Gaza. It wasn't even Israel's. They made us take Gaza after we won the war and we gave them back Sinai. We didn't want Gaza. No one wants Gaza. Jordan doesn't want Gaza. Egypt doesn't want Gaza. But Canada and Mexico didn't want TRS either. In the end, Trump has his way to get things done. And if we can make this a better place and everyone's lives improved, not just the Israelis, but the Palestinians' life is better. You have to understand, Iran doesn't want this. Why does Iran not want U.S. to own Gaza? There's a reason.
Want chaos.
They love the chaos, Dan. They love having someone bother the beast, to hit the bear, to throw rockets at Israel, 16, 17,000 of them. They enjoy messing with the Jewish state. So they don't care about the Palestinians. They don't give a crap about the Palestinians. They like them for one reason only, because they can mess with Israel. I think Trump came with a crazy idea. I love the outside the box thinking. Nothing else has worked. Let's give the guy a shot. And I will stand in Gaza and I will serve in Gaza before one American troop goes there. We don't want America to pay for it. We don't want America to send soldiers there. Not one Israeli would want an American troop in there. God forbid American blood is spilled in Gaza. That's our problem. But if Trump, with his gifts, and he has gifts, you can say whatever you want about the guy, but the guy has gifts. If he can get the Saudis and all the oil countries to pay for this, and he's building Trump towers on the water. I just bought land in Atlanta, on Alabama, I'm sorry, on the waterfront. When you have waterfront, that's expensive real estate. He's going to make Trump towers there. I swear to God, he's going to do this. May take years. They're going to have a better life. Israel's going to have a better life. Everyone will be happier. Now, unfortunately, because Trump said it, you have to go against it, many people. But if you let this play out, whether it takes 2 years, as Sean said, or 3 years, or how many times it's going to take, I don't know how long it's going to take. But I'm telling you, everything else has been tried and nothing else has worked. Let's give this a shot. Let's save lives. We don't want anyone else dying anymore. Let's just stop this. And this is the way to do it.
Awesome, Mikey. Dan.
I mean, it's totally awesome. Again, I want to be very clear to everyone. I am not saying this because I was just kind of playing devil's advocate and judging by the chat, speaking for most of MAGA here on the platform. Mikey, my one question for you that you just said is Iran does it because they want to F with Israel. Will Iran and let's say China and Russia, who don't really want to see the United States with the toe, will they all F with this such that somebody with real firepower has to defend this for the next 20 years?
I don't see China and Russia getting involved other than making noise.
I was going to say indirectly.
They're no way going to get into this. Russia has its own issues, and I really think that Trump's going to deal with that as well. And I think they're going to have a better world also. 1 million people have died over there. It's crazy. Iran will not like this. But if I can say this to you with what I understand, we can take care of Iran.
Okay.
Israel can take care of Iran. We don't need America. We like the sanctions. We don't want Biden and Obama sending boatloads and train loads and plane loads of cash so they can fund Hezbollah and Hamas. It would be nice if you guys wouldn't give them money for Iran to hit us. That'd be nice. But sanctions, good. We don't want military. We would never, ever want one American soldier to lose his life for Israel. Ever.
John.
So.
Look, I think this is great. The idea that I also will say, without getting off on a tangent, but first of all, Mikey, I appreciate your service and everything you're doing, and thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. It was noted last night, Zelensky was on Piers Morgan and talking about how he actually thinks there's a deal. Look, I think that Mikey put this well. There are a lot of people, because Trump said it, it's like, well, I got to be against it, and I don't like this. But at the end of the day, like, this out of the box thinking, this ability to get deals makes our country safer, makes the world safer, and everything else hasn't worked. So I'm for all of this. And I think the idea that we're willing to give things a try is what we need to be seen as. And frankly, even if this is a play by Trump, in the back of my head, we've talked about this before with the tariffs, if part of this is to bring Jordan and to bring some of these other guys to the table in Egypt and say, all right, guys, look, we've tried it your way for decades. It hasn't worked. I got an idea. If you don't go with my idea, you get me something better. But I'm going, I got the bulldozers coming in and the cranes coming in. If you don't give me a reason, then but again, it's the mentality of willing to think outside the box that's going to bring fresh ideas to this and get these guys to the table. They're reacting. These guys are finally willing to say, no. And they're going to rush to the White House and say, Mr. President, you can't do this. This is why. And he's going to say, great. Then what do you got? Put something on the table. And that's what we finally need.
I mean, I totally agree. Mikey, I love it. If Trump is right, America, it's good for America. So that is my overarching theory. The problem, Sean, with what you just said is you're like, well, if they don't do it, we're coming in. No, we're not.
Well, no. I go back to what Mark said before. You're right. I mean, but whether it's him saying, hey, I'm going to get a private equity deal that's going to fund this stuff. I mean, I get my point is that he's going to say, I've got an alternative to do it a different way, unless you put something on the table is more importantly, whether we do it or not is more, I'm just speaking colloquially, but we will come in with a plan through sovereign wealth funds or private equity that will fund this. And obviously, I think from the reaction from Netanyahu, maybe they say, hey, we'll help put the coalition together to defend it for a while.
Mikey, let me ask you one question, and I want to do one more thing. Thank you for coming. First of all, everybody remember the cover. This is Mikey on the cover of Soldier of Fortune. What year was that, Mikey?
You asked me that last time. This is obviously, I don't know, 2003, 2005, something like when I was younger and prettier. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you're Studley there. There's just
I was just going to say, you saw dark hair, everything.
Objective. I know I asked you last time. I figured you would have looked it up by now. Mikey, if President Trump said, we don't want American troops on the ground, which army of an Arab country can go on the ground and do a good job?
Listen, when you're talking about army, there's no fighting going to go on there. You have to understand.
No, I understand. But if you need some peacekeeping, who can parade around the sand in front of not fight with the valet parkers at the Trump Gaza?
I believe that in the end, it's going to be some countries in Europe and possibly Saudi Arabia and some Kuwait.
That's what I said. Dutch and Saudi.
Kuwait.
Mikey, thank you. Please come back regularly. Very grateful to you. So to paraphrase Alvy Singer, I happen to have America First right here. Daryl, unmute. First, tell people about your America First bona fides. You voted for Trump 3 times, right?
That's right. I'm a Trump supporter since 2015. Originally,
Yes,
I was a Rand Paul supporter.
Yes, sir.
And
where do
Trump,
you live?
I live outside of Philadelphia. I've been on the program a couple times.
Yes, sir. Welcome back. What's the most MAGA thing about you?
The MAGA, well, in terms of being part of the club, I went to New York City and I bought a Trump hat in 2015 at Trump Tower, a white one. I couldn't find it. I was going to wear it.
All right, you've established your pure MAGA. I'm going to chant your name. I'm going to chant your name like you're Daryl Strawberry. Daryl. Tell us what you think of this proposal. Does it cut the mustard with MAGA?
This is a total betrayal of MAGA.
Okay, keep going.
I'm totally on board with Dan, and I can't. Dan's a Democrat. I love you, Dan. You're the only one speaking for MAGA on here. Sean, I'm very disappointed in you.
How are you related to Dan? How are you related?
He's not related. He's not
This
related.
is a total betrayal of MAGA. MAGA is America first. It's not Israel first. The one thing I haven't heard on this program yet is this. This is an ethnic cleansing, okay? They're going to move all the millions of people out of there. I understand it's a shithole, okay, because we destroyed it with Israel, with our bombs. We leveled that place. And now we're going to move all these people out of there. This is the most extreme. This is what every Israeli, the most extremist, this is what they want. They want a greater Israel project. They want to move the Gazans out of there. They're going to take the West Bank. They're going to take southern Jordan. This is a disgrace. This is not MAGA. This is Israel first.
Daryl, let me ask you a question. So say President Trump, who regularly watches two-way, I believe, let's say he saw it, he called you up and said, Daryl, you're right. What's a better plan to get the Palestinians back there where there's no infrastructure, nothing there? Who's going to rebuild Gaza?
Well, you know what? We need to start treating Israel like a vassal, because that's what they are. We need to start telling them what to do.
Daryl, answer my question on point, please. How are we going to get the Palestinians back there to live when there's nothing there?
I don't know. I don't know
who's
what the
going to rebuild
solution is. I just know moving 2 million people out of their homeland is not the solution. And if we want peace in the Middle East, every single Middle Eastern country, the people in their countries are going to look at this, look at what we're about to do. There's no way we're ever going to get peace in the Middle East. Okay.
All right, Sean, Daryl, speaking for tens of millions of MAGA folks, has said you've lost your mind. What say you?
So 2 things. One, as I said, Daryl, I think there's a difference between shoving money out towards some cause and saying if we're gonna take it over. That is what America First is all about. It's putting us first. It's not handing it over to Israel. It's not it's rebuilding something and then making sure that we benefit from it. That's number one. Number 2 is, as I said, don't be surprised. I made this point to Mark earlier before, and to Dan, that word when is critical. This happened a few days before all of these additional leaders come to Washington to meet with Trump. He put something on the table that they immediately reacted to, and we'll have to talk to him. And so if this is a negotiation tactic by him to force them to do things differently, to get a deal, then that's great. Because right now they were coming to just say business as usual is going to be fine with us for the next 4 years. And Donald Trump just changed the equation in a way that they did not see coming.
You know what? If it turns out to be some 5D chess move and somehow all 2 million Palestinians now have beautiful beachfront condos, then I'll be the first person to come on here and say it was a great move. But
valet parking. What happened to Daryl?
We lost him. I mean,
Dan, what
I
were you
just
going to
think
say?
that I come back to this. This goes against everything Trump has just pulverized people on. I'm watching the chat still. You guys are in the minority on this amongst folks. I mean, the idea, Sean, that like we need to do something different, and Mark, that it's our responsibility to
It's our opportunity, Dan. It's not our responsibility. It's our opportunity.
It's our opportunity to strengthen Hong Kong. It's our opportunity to get rid of AIDS in Africa. Guys, you can go
our bombs destroyed the infrastructure.
I just remember, this is exactly what is the idea that everyone's freaking out this morning. Just breathe, chill. Donald Trump said he wanted to take over the Panama Canal. Marco Rubio went down. And the next thing you know, the Panamanian president is saying, hey, we're out of Belt and Road for the first time. I mean, like, he's just, everybody chill. Let's convene.
This is not Panama.
Days. Hold on.
Panama. These are not little weak. This is not the JV here.
All right.
The Middle East, but the Middle East is the PhD class of college. That Panama is middle school JV basketball.
Okay. All right, hold on, guys.
That may be true, but my broader point stands, which is just take a breath, take a beat, and in a week from now, I actually am a big believer that after these meetings with Jordan and with Egypt, we're going to have a very different view about what's going on than we are today. This was a tactic to get people to think differently, to think outside the box, to get them in a table that they never have been before. So just
all right, hold on. Right. I'm going to warn our affiliates. We're going to run a little bit over because I know a lot of people want to get in here. Margaret is here, and our Middle East correspondent Haley, who's got dual citizenship, U.S. and Israel, are here as well. Margaret, you go first. Just briefly tell us where you are, what's on your mind, and then Haley is going to kick in.
I am still in Southern Nevada. But what's on my mind is what's on everybody's mind, which is the Middle East. Having lived in Qatar and the UAE, they are going to be your pivot, so to speak. I mean, if any of this works, and I still kind of believe that this is throw it at the wall, see what sticks, see what we get out of it. I don't think we're going to take over Gaza. Nobody's going to take over Gaza. Nobody wants, your previous commentator who said nobody wants to take over Gaza is absolutely correct. And I'll give you a hint. It's going to be real hard to get Jordan and Egypt to take the Palestinians because nobody likes the Palestinians either. There is a hierarchy in Middle Eastern, the caste system of India got to West Asia. Let's put it that way. The Palestinians are at the very bottom of that system amongst Arab speakers. Nobody wants them.
Okay,
if
Margaret,
we can
hold
figure
on.
out a way to rebuild their homeland, they might try and use us.
Yep. Margaret, hold on. 1 second. Can you take Fox real quick? Haley, go ahead while we wait for that to come up.
Okay, so I am I'm very much in the middle. Dan, I completely see your side.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Let's just listen to the vice president real quick.
To prevent Americans from speaking their conscience and speaking their mind, whether it's in their communities or online.
All right, you can go out of this. I thought he was talking about the Middle East. Back to Haley. Haley, go ahead.
So like I said, I'm completely in the middle on this. I think what Trump, I've had the same reaction as Lauren. I said, I have to get on two-way to talk about what happened after the press conference because I thought it was outrageous, honestly, like just to hear those words come out of an American president's mouth was pretty crazy. But I do feel like I have to put here a big asterisk because there is Bibi Netanyahu. And I feel like the right has been expressing, like the American right has been expressing their opinion here a lot. And I, who am the most pro-Israel, I love my country, I have a huge problem with our prime minister. I think that our prime minister's, Israel's prime minister is doing all of this because he wants to keep himself politically alive. His government in Israel, everybody needs to understand that this is not a normal standard government. There are extremists in this government who are now today praising what Trump is saying and what this new plan is. The left in Israel, which I agree, there is no real left in Israel. There's no real opposition that can come close to Bibi and the party. But the left in Israel is not happy. This is not a move that's going to bring peace, in my opinion, to the Middle East. It's going to make Israel look worse. It's going to give us a worse name for PR standards, which Israel always loses the PR war, which is half of the war to begin with. I mean, if we're just looking at the way Israel is vilified in the media, vilified all over, this is just going to make it so much worse for our country. I don't have the answer to what to do the day after this war is over. I think the war has gone on for way too long to begin with. I don't have the answer, but I know that this is going to backfire for Israel, and it's going to backfire for America just because of the PR war that we have continuously been losing.
Okay.
And the only way, in my opinion, sorry, last thing, only way, in my opinion, there's actually going to be a lasting peace is if we elect a moderate government in Israel and our counterparts have some kind of moderate. You cannot get rid of people who claim that this homeland is just as the claim on our homeland. So,
Okay, Haley, thank you. We got to stop because we're over time. 3 quick things. One, somebody referenced the Piers Morgan interview with Zelensky. Incredibly important. In a normal day, we'd be talking about that because he went much further in talking about the end of the war than he has. Number 2, I want to thank everybody for the conversation. We say here 2 ways about conversations like no other. I know no other conversation anywhere in media like this today. Really appreciate the input from Margaret and Haley and everybody else who raised their hand. Thank you for that. 2-way tonight will be on tonight, but the time is TBD because I got to deal with Delta Airlines.
That's helpful.
So
it's fine.
yeah, so it won't be on. It won't be on at 6 o'clock Eastern. You'll get an email if you get my Substack. It'll be on Twitter, X, when it is, how to get on. But stand by. It'll probably be later in the evening. So stand by for that. We'll have full coverage of all of this, all the developments on this and everything else today. Thanks everybody for participating. If you want more of my content, turn on Michael's Mercanish because I'm on there in 1 minute. Sean, Dan, thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you
6
later.
p.m. tonight, Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan, good guest. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Forget the Middle East.